Call the meeting to order. We'll
Pledge allegiance.
stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you choose.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Sarah.
Commissioner Montero.
Present.
Commissioner Teeple.
Present.
Chair York.
Present. Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? No. Good. We'll start with public comment, and we have a guest joining us today. There's a little box in front of her. Okay. This box in front of us. Okay. There. Hi, Marcel.
Hello.
Are there any public comments? Did I ask that?
You just sort of did, but
I just sort of did.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sort of is good enough. Sort of is good enough for me, I guess I'll say. Next is the approval of the minutes. Are there any questions, changes?
I just want to make a comment. Sarah, you do wonderful minutes. And the fact that at the beginning of each subject, you tell us where it is on the video. This is fabulous. Thank you so much.
Not too short, not too long.
I move for approval of the minutes from March 23rd.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. It wins. Minutes win. So our business today is talking about the evaluation process with our consultant, Marcel Fannin. Marcel, do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit, and we'll introduce ourselves and then we'll dig in?
Okay, that sounds great. My name's Marcel Sannon. I'm one of the consultants with HR Answers. We are a Oregon-based company up in the Portland metropolitan area, and we provide a variety of consulting services. As you know, we partner with SDAO as well to provide HR services to special districts. And one of the items that we do offer as a special project, besides things like handbooks and compensation plans, is working with boards to do evaluations for their general or district manager. And so I am pleased to be here to help support the board and the committee with that today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tita, you want to start introductions too?
Marcel, I'm Tita Montero. I'm the secretary treasurer of the board. I was elected in July. Well, I started my term in July, and I also sit on another special district board, the Union Health District, and I'm also a city councilor for the city of Seaside.
Oh my, busy.
Hi, Marcel. My name's Kathleen Teeple. I just started on the board in January. I live in Seaside, and I got a cell phone stand from you at the SDAO conference.
Yes. I have mine right here. Great.
And Marcel, you and I have had a chance to talk several times and email several times, so
Yes. Hello.
hi. So we have had several discussions. We had discussions at our last meeting about this process and how we were going to approach it. We took it to the board. Further discussion, support for the way we planned on approaching it. Had that conversation with Marcel to get her background. We all have before us the updated letter that gives the project overview. So, Marcel, what I would like to do, if it works for you, please tell me if there's a better approach for you, is to walk us through first just the overall project steps. I'm going to ask to hold questions then, so we can just go through that quickly. And then take us through the details. There may be some questions there. And hopefully, I want very much for us to have time to dig into the questions, which is the real meat of the work, I think, that we have to do. So,
Great.
Marcel, does that make sense to you?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, and Kathleen and Tita?
Makes sense.
Okay, great. So let's get going. Thanks.
Okay. So the goals and the overall arching view of an evaluation process is to see, especially when it's for an executive director or general managers, to see is the person in this position meeting the expectations of the board, meeting the expectations of the job description, meeting the expectations of the employment contract or employment agreement. Are the district goals being met? And by providing a evaluation to the manager, the director, they can receive some meaningful feedback and be able to determine and if there needs to be some adjustments where they can improve and really get some ideas from the board as to how they can really better support the board and the district. It also provides a written record. It is usually recommended to do evaluations annually, not necessarily in this structure, but as this is a new board, a new director, a new chapter for the district, it is good to have a mechanism that we will discuss that a little bit more in detail, but this kind of a mechanism allows for getting a variety of stakeholders to provide their input in a very confidential manner so that they can feel like, based on the confidentiality and anonymity from it, that they can be honest and provide some feedback for the committee and for the board to review. So overall, the project steps will include us partnering, the committee and myself, working together to see what are the expectations, goals, desired outcome from this project. What are the expectations that the executive director is aware of, which we looked at a little bit in his employment agreement, and look at any of the other relevant types of information, such as his position description, as well as the employment contract, and then the board bylaws. And if there's any other documentation regarding any sort of goals or information that have been provided to the executive director, then we should consider that as well. So by looking at those topics to see what criteria is the executive director aware of that he is going to be evaluated on, from there we want to take a look at what those factors are and create and develop questions from those factors so that we can ask the stakeholders, in their opinion, how successful is this person being in these different categories? Once we get the questions developed, we typically use Monkey survey. We create the questions and we populate those in there. I will need to have the contact information for all of the participants, and they will receive an invite to come and go anonymously into SurveyMonkey and fill out the survey. Prior to that, we'll want to come up with a communication, probably coming out from the board or from the committee to most of the stakeholders, because otherwise they may look at my email and say, what is this? It's a weird link. I'm not clicking on it for safety. So we want to prepare them in advance of why they're being invited and that we value their feedback and that we appreciate the time that they're going to take to do this for us. Typically, the survey window is open for about 2 weeks to give people a little bit of time to provide some thoughtful and meaningful responses. I will set up SurveyMonkey to take a look at that and provide some follow-up emails to remind people as reminders throughout the 2-week period. After the 2-week period is completed, I will take all the information, all of the comments and the rankings, depending on how we decide to have the questions, get the survey information. And typically what we do, especially with a smaller size district, to help maintain the confidentiality, is we do not provide the actual verbatim comments, but instead we roll it up into what is averagely being said by each different stakeholder group. For example, the board will be invited to provide their feedback, and all those comments are going to be turned and rolled up into, on average, the board says that this particular person is being very successful in this function. So we will get some feedback and some areas for opportunities for improvement, but nothing will be verbatim, so that no one will know who said what. There won't be anybody to be able to follow a path that way, and it kind of helps really contain and protect the confidentiality. So once that feedback has been collected, we'll do that analysis and then provide that in a narrative form with possibly some charts or some percentages for the committee and for the board to review. At that point, if there's anything that needs to be maybe edited, altered just a little bit in order to have a final format product that the board can then use to meet with the executive director. And so that is the overview of the project.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So the one place where you might not be able to have the anonymity is that the executive director themselves has the opportunity to do a self-evaluation with the same tool. And I feel that that is very important for the board to receive that, so that we know how they're assessing themselves and how they're assessing the responsibilities that they're supposed to fulfill. That part of it, will that come back to us more verbatim?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. That will be a separate, like his self-evaluation will be separated and not rolled up into an average comment, so that he can have the ability to provide some specifics and some details about the things that he's accomplished or how he feels about certain things that have been, in his tenure here. So that way that one will not be as anonymous, because that is the focal point of our evaluation. Thank you for clarifying that.
Questions?
I was just wondering, so the initial summarizing of the questionnaire, when we meet to go over it and see what we want to see in the final product, we would be doing that in committee, because if we do it in the entire board, the executive director would be part of it.
I think I'm understanding that the first pass at that is going to be with Marcel, as opposed to us. I'm not sure that we're going to see all of the verbatim detail responses.
Correct. But there is a point at which we're going to be deciding what makes up the final product. Didn't you said that, right?
Yes. And that will depend on if you want to have the first pass at it in this committee. After I get it all, get the analysis done, would the committee like to be the first one to take a look at it before it's passed on to the board?
Right.
That could be done that way. It's up to you.
Well, just because if we do it with the entire board, like I said, the executive director would be at the meeting.
Well, and what you have to remember is that if we do it in this setting, it is a public meeting.
In this setting,
Right.
Committee setting.
Yes.
Also, yes.
However,
Either
we
way.
do it. Yes.
So what we'll be receiving from you, Marcel, is the summary of what we've heard. And the board may well choose to emphasize more. I would assume, though we haven't talked about this, that we would add to it goals for next year. I'm not sure why. Well, first of all, it is the executive director's decision, as I understand it, when we go over this with him, to have that be in open session or closed.
Correct.
And I've talked with him about that, and he hasn't made that decision yet. And I'm not sure there's a reason that we wouldn't want to discuss that summary, and possibly with some adjustments with the
An open
executive
meeting.
director.
Okay.
I don't know of a reason we wouldn't want him to see.
Say that question again. I'm sorry, I blanked.
So I'm trying to address the issue of how we first discuss that summary, and whether or not there is a reason not to do that with the executive director. Now, and I'll add that at one point at our last meeting, we had talked about possibly doing a summary, having summary done, and having me go over the summary with the consultant to make sure there wasn't any big thing that I saw that was missing or had questions about. We didn't decide whether or not to do it that way, but that was one option. So I guess I'd like to know from you, Marcel, how you see that being done, if there are variations that different bodies have chosen in how to deal with that.
As varied as many various districts that there are in boards, there are many different options. So any of the options that you have just described would be suitable and appropriate. If it makes sense for you and me as the committee chair and me to take one first pass at it before we move it to the next step, that would be appropriate. Just to, like you said, to see, is there anything that strikes out to you that might need to be adjusted before it moves to the committee and or to the board?
I'm trying to remember all of the details about public meeting law. But public meeting law, I believe, does not apply when, I can't remember if it would be a committee, but I know it would not apply if it was just the chair meeting with a consultant for the results of research and for professional advice. So from that perspective, I would say it would be a fine idea for when you boil down and have the summary, etc., for you to be meeting with the chair. I'd like us to explore whether that exception to public meeting law would apply to a committee meeting with the consultant for consultant advice. I can't remember that detail on public meeting law.
We are not a quorum.
No, we're not. So we,
Right.
as we're doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
this has to be a public meeting, but once we are, if you're in a meeting with your lawyer, your consultant, and they are advising you, that doesn't meet the public meeting law requirement. What I can't remember is if that applies to only one person meeting with them or
The entire
a committee, because
is
we're
less
still less than a quorum.
We're less than a quorum of the board.
Yes.
We're not less than the quorum of this committee, and this committee has to abide by open meeting law.
Well, there you have it.
So what I don't know is
I wanted to
is
do a
any
little research
restrictions
on that.
around personnel matters. There is some
Privacy.
privacy around personnel matters, but I don't know. Marcel, are you familiar with this question?
I talked with Lori Grania, the owner of
Oh,
HR
yes.
Answers, about this, making sure that my participation today and if I get invited to other committee meetings, what to what length could we speak to things here in a public forum? And, our agenda today is totally appropriate. And again, it becomes the only thing I remember us talking about was when it gets to the actual presenting the information, like as an evaluation conversation with the executive director, and you've already mentioned that's his choice then to have it in executive session or not. So I can find some further clarification on this through Lori next week if you would like.
I think that would be good. I'd also be more than willing to call EGOC and get advice.
I think the approach of having Marcel talk, and I think, Marcel, if I recall correctly, you have a JD yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
My belief is that it is helpful and appropriate to discuss the summary in closed session. That would be my preference, though it is David's option, to discuss the summary with the full board and the executive director and talk about at that time. The board members may say, you know what, you are doing a great job in such and such, David, and says that I don't think there's enough emphasis here on something.
And I don't think that's the issue. That's the evaluation time itself.
Right.
And evaluation of an executive director is one of the reasons you can have an executive session, but then they get the choice if they want to have it in executive session or not. I think the issue is moving up to that and the preparation of the document that goes into and is shared at the evaluation time. If we are sitting here as a group, that becomes, does that become a public document before we even get to discuss it as the evaluation?
Right.
And that's not what we want happening.
So the board, we made clear in our discussions, we the board, that this would be the evaluation by the board, not by the committee.
Correct.
So I'm not sure that after we have consulted about the questions we're sending out, and the summary is done in using the methodology that was mentioned. I'm not sure why the committee needs to meet again.
That could possibly be the case because we are formulating the questions, the information is being gathered, summarized, and then does it have to come to the three of us as a committee or work with you as the committee chair to then prepare it, to provide it to the board as they go into the evaluation session?
Otherwise, you are evaluating when you present the summary.
Right.
Yeah.
And this makes our role more making sure that the process is what we think is appropriate, and having gotten the permission from the board to be able to look at that way, make the final decision about the questionnaire itself. And with the guidance, and that's what we talked about at the board meeting, with the guidance of the consultant, and certainly the technical work of the consultant in proposing questions, in formatting it, in getting it out, and doing the evaluation, not the evaluation of the
preparing the evaluation input and feedback.
The form.
Right.
Yeah.
The technical aspects of that.
Correct. Because for us to take the prepared document and discuss it here, we're discussing the evaluation, and that's not appropriate.
Exactly. So we can discuss the forming of it, but after the results come in, I think it is not going to be.
It becomes
the
chair And the
And then
consultant.
the actual evaluation.
I believe that's
Okay.
true. Does that make sense, Marcel? What we're
It
saying?
does. Yes, it does. And it sounds really clean.
Okay, good.
Good, okay.
And one of the things that you mentioned to me, Marcel, last time we talked, is that what we're doing right now is also establishing a process to use in the
Yes,
future.
correct.
And after it's all done, we'll be able to meet again and say, did that work? How would we do that with our own staff if we choose to do that way in the future? But we'll have a really solid model
Right.
of a way to evaluate our.
And we'll be able to build some board policies around that.
Yes.
I think it will serve us in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I am really hoping one of the outcomes is that I don't see the purpose of an evaluation if you don't set goals for the next period.
Right.
Because come a year later, if you haven't set goals, then you are missing a really important part of an evaluation.
And I would think that we'll be getting those goals in a couple of ways. One is the data we've gathered, and in just our own individual, when we're finishing the form ourselves,
Right.
thinking about that. But also, we're going to be able to bring in the goals that for the district that came out of our strategic plan, not finalized yet.
No, true.
But we should be able to bring those in. They should be ready by then so that we can include the district goals.
Yeah. And I think that's an important document to include to Marcel, so that she sees that too, because she's going to be synthesizing everything and hearing what people think the goals should be. She's gonna, if she has that, that's a background document. That's an infrastructure document.
And we drafted that, Marcel, in a retreat a couple of weeks ago. We've seen the 5 top ones, but they haven't been wordsmithed yet. So I could get you the draft, but you and I can email about what form you want those in and when you'll want them, if that makes sense for you.
Yes, it does. That sounds wonderful.
Great.
Okay.
Makes great sense.
Okay. Well, I think we just saved ourselves a bunch of meetings. Thank you.
I think we did. Well, we saved ourselves a bunch of meetings, not you.
Well, we'll be quick.
So Marcel made a very good point about an invitation communication coming from either you or the committee to all the stakeholders prior to them getting that. And I think that's something definitely we want to work on too.
Do you have recommendations about how we would go about doing that?
Yes, and I have some, I'm in our files, we have some drafts that I could submit to you guys, so you guys could take a look at it, the committee could look at it and wordsmith it a little bit. I could tee it up to make sense from my understanding of this particular district, but then we could have you finalize it as part of this, getting the foundational and the process pieces in place.
I think it'll be very important for the stakeholders to know that this is all being handled outside of the agency and really building the trust there to be totally honest, to say whatever you want to say, etc.
Great.
Well, that sounds good. What else do we need to go through now, Marcel, for your work?
For me, I was hoping I know that one of the important pieces is to create the goals for next year, which is something that we have in the document, in the proposal. Those are the kinds of goals then that would be used in the following year's evaluation. So that is very important. I was hoping to find out a little bit more from the committee about any other kinds of documented expectations or goals that have been communicated with the executive director, and then looking at the evaluation factors that I hope everyone has in front of them. Those were taken from his employment agreement, and that's what he's going to be aware of. Yeah, number 2, identify the evaluation factors. So it would be nice to kind of go through those with the committee.
That would be great. The project, yeah.
The initial one or the secondary one, are they the
You
same?
don't have the current.
Is it the second letter on page 2? Is it this, it's the brown
So page
paper?
11 of the
Yeah.
packet, but page
It's the last page.
Do you have another packet? She might not have the current. Oh, here, I have
I
a.
think, yeah, that's,
It's it.
So
Yeah.
this one,
It's a letter dated,
is it under
March
project
31st.
details? Is that what you're talking about?
Project details and then number 2,
Yeah.
identify.
Identify, right.
Of the
So
letter
let's
of
be
March
sure that
31st.
Marcel has in fact, because I made myself a little note. You have the position description, correct?
Yes, I
You
do.
have the contract.
Yes.
Does it matter whether or not she has the board policies that we've sort of accepted ourselves from?
I sent her everything
Good.
that
Yeah,
was
good.
given to the board for our last
Good.
meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said something about us designing the goals. I'm kind of thinking that the goals, rather than us saying what the goals are here and now, the goals are going to come out of a synthesis of the input that we get from the stakeholders, plus the workshop,
the strategic.
the strategic planning that we did.
Yes.
That those are going to marry, and that's going to come out, that's going to be the goals, as opposed to us saying today or before. it all
You
goes
say
out.
on the evaluation, we're going to have what, that the input will add goals?
I envision more that one of the questions would be, what goals should the executive director be setting for themselves for the next year? What goals should the executive director be meeting for the district for the next year? Something like that.
So can I ask, on the survey, do you ask open-ended questions about goals, or is that sometimes
Yes.
done?
Yes, yes, and it is nice to ask some open-ended questions. A lot of times, what works well is asking questions like, how satisfied are you that the district manager provides support to the board of directors in order to achieve strategic goals and objectives, right? And then they get to rank like satisfied, very satisfied, neutral, kind of have a choice. But then there's an open-ended comment box so that they can support what their choice was and get that feedback with more specifics that way. And so, yes, we can do that with a specific question on different goals as well, without having to rank it. Just say, what goals would you anticipate would make sense for the executive director for the following year? Yes.
So you weren't suggesting that we today talk about goals that would be an outcome from the evaluation?
Correct. I think we need to wait and see what that, like Tina was saying, that what comes out of the information and the strategic plan, so
Yeah.
that we can see kind of, and then, goals might not be hard and firm either, or static, right? When the board actually meets with the executive director, that can be a refinement, a conversation about that, because other parties might have some inputs. There might be a different board member or the ED that might say, hey, I think we should manage this a little bit differently, or the goal could be altered just a little. And if everyone's in agreement, then the goal gets altered a little. So it could be a great conversation as to what the future should look like in the coming year.
Yeah, so we have the ingoing document, which is the evaluation, the synopsis, what we sit with, but then we have an outcoming document that is, number one, what becomes the public evaluation, but also the agreement between the board and the executive director as to these are the goals for the coming year.
Right, and then that becomes the foundation of the next evaluation.
Right. So I'm interpreting that you're looking at a tool, a survey monkey tool that would have a combination of, I guess I'm going to call them multiple choice plus comments.
Yes.
Some also open-ended, so there's a question and people can say whatever they want to say. And I know those are harder to synthesize, but I think sometimes they give you more information than just a ranking.
Correct, because otherwise someone may, I don't know, sometimes I'm on the fence, right? I wish that there was a different ranking number, but by having the text box, I can explain my thought process a little bit about why I feel that way. And then we, on the back end, once we get that information, we run it through an analyzer tool to help us. So it's not just going to be me trying to come up with that. We have some tools and some databases to help generate and synthesize that information.
Right. I think it also would be important for us to know, not necessarily going into the evaluation, but at the back end, how many people from each stakeholder group answered each question.
Okay.
So that we have an analysis of, was this a successful question, or did this question end up with 20% of the people answering it, so it really was not a significant number, that kind of thing, for us to know. And even as we go, when you're working with Penny, even if you find that there's some questions that you don't have a significant net response, that maybe that needs to be noted somehow, that it's a minority, or
So it's just putting an N on it. What's the N? That
the N,
answered? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And I apologize, I should have done this right away. Can we put a time check on how long we're going to work on this? And so we can make sure we're going to finish what we need to finish. What was your expectation? Again, Marcel, I should ask this before, but.
For today's meeting?
Yes.
Yes, so we had allotted, or in the proposal, up to an hour and a half, and we do not need to use all of that time at this time if we don't want to. That is fine, but I really just wanted to hear from the board about what the goals and the outcome, or the committee, from what the goals and the outcome is as you're representing the board in this project and trying to create this structure for it. So this has been very helpful, and I would like to go over these factors to see what kind of questions we can generate from inside of these factors, right? So what is it that the committee thinks that the board would want to see from these factors, so that we can drill down and get some more specific questions created for each one?
That's great. So let's go over that section 2A, and then we'll see where we are after we've done that.
Okay. So when we're looking at the factors, the first one in the employment agreement, and I will say that they are based on the Board of Commissioners policy. So that was a great job when they created the employment agreement. They were using the board policy about what the evaluation criteria should be. So they're in alignment, which is a great start. The first one is ability to cooperate with the board, community, citizens, and leaders, peer organizations, neighboring cities, districts, and the county.
So I have an issue with the word cooperate.
Yeah, we need to define that a little bit, is what I was needing.
And for me, one word that pops out better than cooperate is collaborate.
Okay.
Especially with outside stakeholders. But some people could think of cooperation as you just do what I say, and others, I'm looking at some people think cooperation is ability to get along, and that's not what's doing for me. There's also partnership, collaboration, there's innovation, and being able to explain succinctly and accurately. That's part of it for me as a board member. And maybe that fits somewhere else, but
Well,
yeah.
Effective communication
it may be
skills.
that particular item, which is complex,
Yes.
is maybe divided and is not just in one
Yes.
question.
Mhm.
But we're evaluating him on that set of things because that was in the employment agreement. But how you tease that out of respondents, I don't know.
That's what she does.
Yeah.
That's what I'll look into in drafting some of
Good.
these questions.
Good.
And I think hearing from us what we think this could
Yes.
mean is very important for you.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, good.
Any other feedback or different feedback on cooperate?
I just think that that's true. Those are all groups that the executive director has to work with in a positive, successful way.
Well, what's not in there is, and maybe it's under the leadership, leadership, district employees, and volunteers. We don't have volunteers, so.
Our TAC members are volunteers, committee members are volunteers.
And I would put that then under, the first one, District Board of Commissioners, district committees. Because a volunteer to me is more like, and there's levels of volunteer. I'm helping you onto the bus versus I am helping you create policy.
I don't know that we'll be looking for that.
So could we, instead of volunteer, just say, and committees, board committees?
Sure.
Or we could even say, right now, we don't have to say every one of them, board committees.
I think committees is fine.
Yeah.
And I would suggest leaving volunteers under C,
Sure.
because we could have an intern who's working here. There are other ways that could be. That's a pretty broad term, and I think it
Doesn't
captures.
hurt. Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
In section A here, the different groups that are listed, are we going to be inviting people from each one of those groups to invite them to participate in the evaluation, or are the people that are going to be invited to participate and evaluate, will they have enough of a sense of the executive director's relationships with these different community and partnering groups?
Well, I think the plan was that we were going to ask David to provide us with a list of 6 to 10 names of people that he's been working with that are in government, in the county, in partners that we would anticipate, etc.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'd like to add on to there, and it is I'd like to add on consultants, and I'd like to add on SDAO, because working with SDAO is a really important thing.
You want to add it to A?
Yeah. because they're not a peer organization. They don't fit anywhere else in here. Professional organizations, that's what we want. Because you have OTA and SDAO and NAWADA.
I think we need a general term rather than listing everything, because we don't want to omit.
And that's not a peer organization?
No, no.
If we said peer
Professional
and
organizations?
professional organizations, I think that
Yeah, that's
covers it
good.
really broad.
Yes, peer and professional
broad way.
organizations, I think is fine.
And I don't think at this point we should veer much from what we told him in his employment agreement we were going to be evaluating him on.
Yeah.
Yes, but you can invite him, like you mentioned, to provide you a list of names from these different groups. You could include some of those other ones that you may feel like aren't captured in here, and invite him, like if he's been working with someone at SDA or at OTA or any of those other groups, he gets to choose. It could be the professional or the peer organizations that he feels like he's worked with enough in the last year that he's been here. So,
and I would also say that he's not the only one that gets to choose. I would say he gives us 6 to 10 names, and we may think of someone that needs to be on there that he hasn't provided to us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Effective communication skills is just way too broad. I would say that there need to be several questions on the evaluation that kind of get more specific.
Like, do you feel respected when you communicate?
Do you normally ask several questions? Do you have a sort of an array of questions around written, verbal communication?
Yes, because you want to have a variety depending on what the role is, right? This position has to speak in public to public members in a public forum. So there's that. They're speaking to staff members. They're speaking upwards to the board. What are the relationships and how successful is that? Is he communicating with those different groups?
And
So
it's
in
not
the different ways. Sorry. So both the verbal and the written. How is everything put together? The proposals, the emails, is he communicating effectively in any of those methods?
And part of effective communication is also the timeliness of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
So I think we can leave it to Marcel to come up with several questions that hit that mark.
It's clearly that she's doing the kind of thing that we want. It's getting from different angles.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know some of the questions may not be answerable by everyone who is every evaluator, let's put it that way, because I could see somebody from a peer organization, for instance, saying, well, I don't know how effective his leadership is so if it could be
Well, I think that if I recall, Marcel, you don't provide all the questions to all the respondents. Is that true?
Right. We can do it one of two ways. One is everyone gets the same questions, but then one of the choices is that I don't have any feedback on this particular question because I don't see that piece. I don't have any information regarding this.
Yes.
That might be the more streamlined way to go. Another way to go would be to have questions that are based and created a little bit differently for each group. So each group gets a little bit different survey, still on the same topics, still asking similar questions on each one of the evaluating factors, but tailored a little bit more specifically. And that might be a little bit more, work, or might not produce the streamlined results at the end for the summary.
I like the idea of giving them the option, because some might, even though they're in a particular group that doesn't tend to see that, some of them may have had another way of interacting with David and may be able to answer some of the questions another group would. So I kind of like giving them that easy out. I don't know.
I agree. I like comparing apples to apples. And I think given the way this county is all interrelated, I could see somebody who we might think has no information about a leadership skill, but what we don't know is that their wife might be the friend of the wife of a bus driver who says different things, and they might say something on the evaluation, well, I've heard via the grapevine or whatever, and you never know where your information is going to come from.
Yeah, Kathleen, same.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good. So the leadership, or is that? Oh, I guess we did that.
Yeah. What does work habits mean?
Comes to work on time.
That's the first thing that comes to mind, but.
His desk is clean.
Oh, don't ever evaluate me on whether my desk is clean. A sign of a clean desk is a, never mind.
Organizational skills, does the person seem organized? Are they able to lead with some organizational skills, like in his day-to-day, but also being timely and getting things to the board or to his team or to the public partners? Is his work being performed timely? Time management, work habit.
Good.
And some of leadership and work habits, I think, both include interpersonal skills with everybody. But I first was thinking about more the staff.
I do not see the word respect here in anywhere, and I think that should be in something. Do you feel respected or disrespected?
Mm-hmm.
Treats me with respect.
I think that's an important skill that a leader needs.
And that is under leadership or work habits, and that is has respectful relationships or creates respectful relationships, something like that. Efficient utilization of all. Were we ready to move on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Efficient utilization of all facilities and services. What do you think that means?
I think that's super important because that's how, that's a big part of how they're managing the district.
Okay. So
we have two locations. We've got this building here, which is the main central downtown, and then we have another location, which is the operations the operations center that is 10 miles from here, and maybe that's part
the
of this.
Physical
Yes,
part of it. The admin on the other side is
facilities.
operations, but then
The services.
Services efficient. Could that also include something like being able to find and pursue grant opportunities? Do you see that in there as utilization of services?
Well, it's interesting that there isn't a bullet about money.
I know.
Yeah.
That's a real big failing in this.
Right.
And so I think we could add that utilization of facilities and services. That could be there should be something about budgeting. There should be something about expenditures.
Right. Marcel, I'm going to assume you have some questions for the financial side of a CEO.
Yes, and this would be, now as I'm listening to you talk through this, that would be probably a good spot because is it efficient, right? So you're thinking about, are the taxpayer dollars and the grant money being used appropriately, wisely, as part of it being efficient?
Right.
Right. And spelling those out in some questions. Yeah, and of
Yes.
course, I mentioned that in 2023, this agency was failed. And the biggest issue that I've seen is that not utilizing the grant funds appropriately. There was money left on the table because they were not accounting for things correctly. So that's something we'll be really interested in seeing if folks think that that's being done properly now, effectively for the agency.
Good.
And you know, that makes me pop back, I think, to C under effective leadership. Part of effective leadership is hiring qualified, successful people. Part of it is the hiring skills.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I think that's really important.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I have seen questions that talk to or ask for an evaluation of, the hiring and capacity and capabilities of the person being evaluated. Has this particular person, since they've been in this position, had the opportunity to hire for some position? So would that be a valuable thing to incorporate?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
and I think that also actually fits under A a little bit, collaborating with the Board of Commissioners in that just some of the hiring information.
Okay.
And of course, respecting the fact that he is our only employee.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Something else that's not in here, but I have, I don't know where it would fit, but I'm going to call it self-development, self-management, and that goes to making sure that they learn all the things they need to learn to be effective, such as open meeting law, ethics law, etc. And the other thing that suddenly hit me is, again, what's community, citizens, and leaders in the ability to, number A, we can't forget also the legislature. Because without a lobbyist for this district, we do work through SDAO, but we also have to have personal relationships with our legislators.
And I think earlier you said, when you were looking at that, you said government, even though the word isn't there, but that's, I think that is part of it.
Right.
Yeah, broadly. Is there anything else that's missing? I said earlier we shouldn't vary much, but then I realized that there are some things that aren't here that are critical for that position. So we've tried to add them. Is there any other category that is missing?
Got one the only one that I wanted was the respect, and I think we got that.
Yeah, that'll be in there somewhere.
I can't think of anything else.
No.
Thinking through categories of,
Right.
of employees, HR, operations,
Yeah.
And I think that the last one you added, Tita, I wrote down self-development, skills, and knowledge. I think that that kind of captures any other et cetera
Right.
that turns out to be needed to do the job.
Under B, the effective communication skills, I also can see in there is the reputation of the district in the community. That has to do with improving it, maintaining it, that kind of thing.
That's true for any CEO. They have the internal piece and the external. And I think it's especially important in our district because of that lost trust that we're trying to recover, both by providing good, reliable services, but also that that representation being out there and developing trust.
And I think it's important for the board to understand that the lost trust wasn't just in the executive director, it was in the board itself.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see anything that we are missing that you're used to seeing in other kinds of general manager, CEO, ED kinds of evaluations?
I think we've captured some of the things based on this conversation that might not have been captured in that employment agreement, right? Like the reputation building, the trust building, some of the, kind of digging into some of these to clarify, like this person is a liaison, has to build trust with a lot of other stakeholders. How is that going? And then that rolls into some of the communication skills and the presentation skills. So it was the reputation and leadership, liaison leadership of the district. So that was something that I thought was missing, but we've captured that along with some of the other points that you've brought up, like the self-development, especially for someone who may not have been in Oregon public sector type of situations, right? So they may not be that familiar with some of the items that you had mentioned, the Oregon ethics law, the public meetings laws. How is this person getting themselves acclimated to be effective and well-rounded and knowledgeable about all the different components of this role?
Exactly.
Good.
And, I know G says development of goals and strategic plan. Is that where there might be questions that say, what 3 things do you think the executive director should concentrate on as goals for the coming year or something like that? So there's a couple of questions that I liked in other evaluations that I've seen, and that is, what should the executive director stop doing? What should the executive director do more of? What should the executive director start doing? Those are like really open-ended that you can pull from, and I don't know if that's something.
Not something I've ever seen before.
Yeah, I've liked them when they've been on.
Yes, we can take a look at those. Those are popular questions
Mm-hmm.
because it is very open-ended, and it's typically, in my mind, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but after you lead them through some of these other functions, this is towards the end, so that they've been kind of thinking about, oh, now I've really been capturing in my mind what I see about this person's skill sets and their leadership, and then you might be able to get some good specifics down near the end with this kind of an open-ended question. Often you see that in being asked of direct reports and of the board, right, about what this person is doing. People who have a lot of daily or frequent interactions and are able to see this person's work habits, leadership skills, and effectiveness.
Right. And you know, something, a tool like this tends to be heavy thinking. And for many people, it's not something that they might feel comfortable sitting down and doing it in one fell swoop. So I think making sure that people know that you can stop midstream and still come back to it, take a breather, etc., so that it's designed that way that I can leave it and I can come back. And nothing will be lost that I've said. I think that's important for people to know.
Okay. Yes, we can put that into the communication piece, or at least into the instructions, so that they can look at that first and think about how to approach it.
Right.
And I think G was thinking of it as part of the employment agreement. I think that was a way the board was saying, you need to do this in your first year, executive director. And in fact, it's my understanding that that David wanted to get started on that, and the board, which was changing with new board members, wanted him to slow down and not do that right away until the board was complete. So I think that was more a check of, have you done it? And
he was also interpreting the contract to say that he had to have it done by April. And that wasn't the interpretation that others had. It was, you know, that we didn't have to have a finished product.
Well, I can see why somebody might think that with this, that there was that change, that no, this wouldn't be the best time to get that done. We need to wait until the board is complete.
Exactly.
So.
Can I ask, was the executive director then part of the retreat for the strategic planning session?
Okay. Absolutely, yes.
And the senior staff as well.
Okay.
May I ask, how long does it usually take an average evaluation to complete it on this SurveyMonkey? I mean, is it a 2-hour job or a 20-minute job or what?
No, it should be 20 minutes, somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes, I think, is usually reasonable. It depends on how much effort you want to, the evaluator wants to input into their answers. And again, some people are going to be a lot faster thinking on their feet, and they will have, oh boy, I've been thinking about some of these topics a lot, and have answers at the ready that they can quickly type in and do an evaluation. And some people are processors, and it will take them a little bit longer, more like the 30 minutes.
Okay,
because yeah, we don't want it to be too cumbersome for people, because then they won't do it. Yeah.
Good.
Well, that's why the approach of the question and then a box where they can go into more detail. I know myself, sometimes when I'm doing these, I'll quickly answer a lot of them, and then 2 or 3, I have a lot to say, so I'll fill that box.
Good. Yeah. But you don't have to.
No, you don't have to.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Sounds like we've circled around to what we think is most important, and have a better understanding of your approach and what that might look like.
Yeah. Right.
Good.
So what's next for us? Well,
does this fulfill your desire and needs to have enough of the discussion about what kinds of questions? Did we cover enough things for you?
As long as you feel like you've gotten enough information from us.
I do, at least to get started. I thought if I were to take this information and create drafts of the various questions by groups of these functions, I could send them to you via email for review if you thought that might be helpful first, and then we could maybe see how you want to approach it, if we want to do another meeting on this, or just feedback by email, if that might work, or feedback to the chair. Not sure how you would like to do that.
So thinking about it again around open meeting law, so that we're not having a serial meeting. We have tons of meetings, and we have budget meetings coming up too. So I am looking at not having meetings unnecessarily. We have a couple on the schedule to be safe. Next
Yes.
Friday at this time, the following Friday at this time.
Right.
But it seems like if you send it to us and perhaps we individually either responded to you or responded to you and me, if I was, well, no, then that's still
We
two
don't-
people. So,
Yeah.
no. So responding to
Okay.
you,
Okay.
if we did that in the next week, holding that meeting in 2 weeks for,
We don't need to respond. We could respond in a meeting with us. You don't
No.
want to?
No, it'd be better to respond directly,
Just one-on-one?
yes.
Okay.
I feel like our conversation helped us know what each
Absolutely.
other is thinking.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, don't we have to meet again to hash it out?
well, one of the big advantages here is that Marcel has questions for these. We're not writing questions from scratch, and that's what we had envisioned a bit when we first met, that might be the possibility, and that would
Right.
take tons of time.
Right, and we don't have to do
I'm
that.
happy to
Okay.
reuse stuff.
Okay, so what you're proposing is that we each individually look it over, make any comments back to her.
Right.
Okay?
And I can tell you what is legal
Mm-hmm.
under open meeting law is that you could send your comments back to Marcel
Mm-hmm.
and you could blind copy the two of us. As long as we do not discuss it or respond to you, it's fine.
That's not a method that was ever
Yeah, I think that's,
ever heard.
Yeah.
I would have a hard time knowing details of and not saying, yeah, but.
so we review it individually, send the comments to Marcel. She
And that
Tools it.
might be a retool, that's a good word for that she then sends back to us.
and then we can approve it for dissemination.
Right, and you could be, when you send
Okay.
it back to us
I'm
with the
good.
retool, you can,
Talk about comments.
it's not so much talking about the comments, it's sharing your thought process,
Okay.
and that would be fine.
That
So if
sounds
we
good.
did it this way, we could, I'm saying we could, but please tell me if you think, no, that doesn't work. We could cancel the meeting next week, but keep the meeting in 2 weeks in case we have reached a point where where Marcel thinks we're not all in agreement.
Why don't
and we
I
need
see
to
this
discuss this.
meeting on here? The committee meetings aren't on here.
Okay, so in our last meeting, which was our first meeting, I thought we said,
I think
Every
we did.
Friday at 2 o'clock?
so they should be in the
Yes.
It's in
minutes.
the,
I'm not-
in the minutes.
Yeah, so we'll just cancel the 10th then.
Does that work out for you,
Well,
Marcel?
I guess, let's ask Marcel, when do you think you would get a set of questions to us?
I think I should be able to do that sometime middle to next week, hopefully, right? Middle, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. And then that would give you a week or so, or at least a
Yeah.
handful of days to review. And I will send them to you individually, and then you can
Great.
provide me the feedback. And then that would tee us up for the final
So
Approval
finalization
So
on the
let's-
17th.
on the 17th.
I work really good on deadlines.
Me too.
So let's say that you got them to us by April 9th.
Okay.
What would you want our deadline to be back to you? So that maybe we could have this back and forth twice before the 17th. If you got it to us on the 8th, we could get them to you, back to you by the 10th. Does that make sense?
If that works for the committee, and a day on the 10th, so that would give you
Yeah.
2 days, 2.5 days to do it, to review.
I can do it in the day.
And with this scenario, if we decide, let's plan on having that meeting on the 17th.
Yes.
Then we'll have seen them, sent it back to her. She will have revised, done some revision, and then at the meeting on the 17th,
We give the
can
final
discuss
go
and make
ahead.
final decision.
Yeah.
The questions are good.
Good.
Right.
Or and if we have any disagreements, that we can work those out at the meeting and make that.
I think that sounds great.
How about that?
Yeah, so I've got, just for myself, April 8th, Marcel to us. April 10th, deadline back to Marcel.
Right.
And then somewhere in the middle of that following week, the 14th, 15th, Marcel comes back to us. And then we have this for discussion at the April 17th.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Does that
sense for
make
you,
sense?
Marcel?
Yes, it does.
Great.
Okay. One less meeting is always wonderful.
Yeah.
Good. That means I can go to the Mill Pond grand reopening. Okay.
Okay. It looks like we've made a lot of progress in this meeting.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
on schedule in this meeting, and we're on schedule overall in the timeline.
Sounds like it. Definitely.
I feel good about that. Is there anything else we need to do
With
now?
nothing with Marcel, I don't think.
Okay. Marcel, do you have any questions, words of wisdom for us?
I do not. Thank you so
Good.
much for inviting me. I received all the information I think that I need. It was a very great discussion. I really appreciate hearing everybody's input and feedback about these criteria. Very helpful. Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much.
Great.
We'll
Well,
be
thank
in
you very
touch.
much. Great. Enjoy the rest of your meeting and the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
The only question I have is, if we ask the recipients of this, I just didn't want it to be on the clock for paying. This is why I didn't bring it up. If we ask them if they have goals, with those goals that come on this evaluation, are we going to try to change the strategic
No.
plan?
No, it doesn't
Okay, so then
change
what's the point?
You need, this also gives us information.
Yeah, we'll learn something from
Okay.
getting that information.
But we're not going to try to amend the strategic plan then?
Oh, no, we can't.
Good, I'm glad.
But it may also show us places where we need to communicate better
Mhm.
so that people, I mean, we haven't communicated the strategic plan. At this point, maybe we get a lot of input that kind of dovetails right with it.
Yeah,
But maybe we get some that is diametrically opposed. So we'll know people that maybe we need to educate, etc.
and you're right, for education and planning for the next fiscal year.
A couple other things. One, we should be doing a board self-evaluation while we're doing this.
Yes.
Those two things usually go together. And we'll be learning about ourselves. My guess is folks will say, I don't know, no, I can't make up something. But things that really, we're the half of the communication that isn't working right.
Like, I can see one, we are being micromanaged.
We're going to hear that.
Yes,
My
we
guess
are.
is we will.
Mhm.
I might write it myself. So we should be taking away things from this that we might change, that
Yeah, okay,
senior
good.
staff might say, oh gosh, I could support David better if I helped with this. We'll learn. And we may also say, you know what, that's a great suggestion. We're not able to do that this next year, but maybe we would be
goal.
ready to do that in another year or so.
I think come fall, when we have had a full board for 6 months, would be a great time for us to do that preliminary self-evaluation. How are we working as a board? How can we work better as a board? And I think some of the information we get here may apply to us as well. Yeah. So I think
It's a wonderful thing that we're creating.
Oh, it absolutely is, and this is so the right way to go about it, definitely.
Yeah. And I can certainly see us next time taking this work that we paid for and adapting it and being able to have Sam run that.
Yeah.
So, we will have a really solid process.
Right.
And afterwards, we'll be able to say, you know what, maybe we could have done things this differently. So next time, let's make this.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it would be really good if we have some sort of post-meeting, post-evaluated, evaluate the evaluation process. So that, because we're not necessarily going to be the evaluation committee next year. So what can we hand off to make sure that it's as good as can be?
And one thing
Debriefing.
we might want to do is propose a new draft of the evaluation policy.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Good. Okay.
That would be an effective way, I think, to have us draft that. And send
I
it on to the
also-
policy committee.
I also think that this could lend itself to, as the contract is being rewritten, to have some better clarification in that contract.
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
Because we said there's a couple things missing. Yeah. So, no, a lot of good things.
Okay.
Okay. I
Wow.
feel good about it.
I'm excited.
We're doing good.
I'm excited about
I'm going to
this.
go home and read my notes of what I wrote down. Do this,
Yeah.
do this, do this.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What we've got to do is the cover letter. Oh, she's going to give us drafts of a cover letter. Okay, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe that can come with the first set of questions. I don't know.
That would be a good thing to have on the agenda for the
Yeah.
17th to
Yeah.
review that. We can
Right.
do that together.
Yeah, so you might give her a heads up.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Because that request to participate, that's really what that is. We're inviting you, requesting you to participate, should precede the dissemination of the evaluation by, I would say, 2 days minimum.
Good.
Yeah, really put people on notice.
Yeah, and they can talk about it with each other if they want and say, oh, look at what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
And is this
then,
okay?
Do you have a deadline for David to give us a list of people?
I don't,
Okay.
but I do now.
All right.
Yeah,
And
that would
well, we
probably be
should-
by the 17th also.
And we should ask him not just for their names, but their
Their emails.
email addresses.
Right.
Name, title, and email address, so that we make sure we're addressing them
Good.
appropriately.
Okay.
Because we should look over that list on the 17th as well.
Yes, yeah. Because on the 17th, we may be saying, okay, go.
Yeah.
We may.
I think we'll
I'm
be able
hoping
to
we
do
are.
I think so too. If we have these pieces, the cover letter.
Right. We're almost, I think, are we?
I think we're done.
Okay. I move to adjourn. Are you ready?
I'll second.
Is that okay?
Yep,
All right.
Okay,
we're adjourned.
we're adjourned.